One program. Our first speaker is Steve H. He'll come up and share with us.
I'm Steve, and I'm an addict, and I am truly grateful to be clean, and I'm truly grateful for the program of Narcotics Anonymous. It's really a blessing for me that I even made it down here to Camp Mac, and I'm really grateful to be here. And if we can, could we take a moment of silence? Thank you. When I saw the name of this workshop, One Disease, One Program, I'm thankful that I know that I suffer from a disease that the program of Narcotics Anonymous has taught me that I suffer from a disease that wants me dead. It doesn't want me to break my ankle. It doesn't want me to cut my arm. This disease of addiction wants me dead. And it wants to kill me by me using my own two hands. I'm really into the literature, and I want to read something out of the basic text. It says, this comes from step 12. It says, our disease controlled our lives when we were using. It is ready and waiting to take over again. We quickly forget that all our past efforts at controlling our lives failed. You know, to talk about the insidiousness of this disease, I remember a couple of months back, I had woke up and I was getting ready to go to work, and I had a real sharp pain in my side, man. I didn't know what it was. It was pain I've never felt before. And I had went into the emergency room, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And all I was telling these people, man, is I'm a recovering addict. I need something for the pain because it's my responsibility, man. And they had given me a non-narcotic, and it took the pain away, but it didn't take it all away. And the lady had said, well, I can give you something else, but it's a narcotic, but I can't give you any more of the non-narcotic. And I told her, no, thank you, because my body doesn't know the difference between that, man. It doesn't matter if it's, crack cocaine or a pain medication. All my body's going to say is, give me more, give me more. The first thing my disease attacks is my thinking, man. And it talks about that in the first step. We have no choice but to change our old way of thinking or go back to using, man. That's bottom line, man. It doesn't say maybe. It doesn't say we can go back to using. It says or go back to using. I'm very grateful that I have a sponsor that doesn't co-sign my bullshit. I'm very grateful that I have a sponsor that calls me on my bullshit, because my thinking can take me off into la-la land like that, man. This disease affects every area of my life, man. It affects mind, body, and spirit. And the only solution to this is one that is spiritual in nature. Narcotics Anonymous has taught me I only have a daily reprieve from this, man. I have to stay on top of my daily maintenance, man. First and foremost, getting right with my God. Second, calling my sponsor. Third, attending meetings. Reaching out, helping other addicts. All through the literature, it tells me, man, I'm the problem. And the only way I can get out of myself is by helping others. And there's nothing that gives me more gratitude than helping other addicts, man. When God can use me to go on a 12-step call, when God can use me as an instrument to get this addict home because he just got off of work and he feels like using. I'm just lined up, and I don't take credit for that. God works through me, man. And, I have to remain humble or I'll be humiliated. I can remember when I got hurt at work, and a 300-pound beam had fell on my knee. And it wasn't that bad at first, but as the day progressed, it started hurting real bad. And one of my coworkers said, man, I have something that'll take the pain away. And I'm like, yeah, nope. You know, the insidiousness of this shit, man. With my first sponsor, I used to call him up and tell him, oh, man, I had a dream about using and all this shit. He said, man, that ain't nothing. That's your disease trying to get your ass when you're sleeping, man. And, you know, it's not out in the parking lot. It's not up in the cabin, man. It's not over there doing push-ups. This shit is right here within me, you know, 24/7. It's progressive even during the times of abstinence, man. I have the utmost respect for it. I don't fear it because I believe in the literature wholeheartedly. And the literature tells me never have we seen a person relapse who has lived in Narcotics Anonymous program. You know, I have to live it, though. You know, to get back on my thinking, you know, I'm the type of addict that if my sponsor don't pick up the phone the 6th time I called him in one day, oh, he don't want to sponsor me no more. You know, because let's see, he got 5 other sponsees. He got a wife and children. But it could be a million reasons he didn't answer the phone, but my think is going to tell me he don't want to sponsor me no more. You know, and that's what I'm kind of learning throughout this process, man, is what it is I have to have the willingness, man, to do something else besides the way I've always done shit, man. Self-will has caused me pain time and time and time again, man. And just because I'm clean doesn't mean that I can't try to self-will some stuff, you know. Even clean, if I try to self-will, I get pain behind that stuff. And, you know, it talks in the 3rd step that we can't make that decision often enough. And sometimes I'm making that decision over and over and over and over again, man, because I got to get out of myself, man. With the whole one program, you know, I have the utmost respect for this program of Narcotics Anonymous because it has given me my life back. And it's giving my mother her son back, and on and on and on and on and on, man. I don't come up in these rooms talking about the other fellowship, man. You know, first and foremost, that's a violation of Tradition 6, man, and I don't have to. And true enough, I'm grateful for that. You know, I'm grateful for the other fellowship, but my relationship with them is one of cooperation, not affiliation. You know, in my area, I have been to meetings where people identify themselves as alcoholics and addicts and cross-addictive. And I can remember when my first experiences with recovery through the court systems, and I had to go to these treatment centers and shit, and that confused the hell out of me, man. I didn't know what the fuck I was, man. At first, you know, my disease is telling me, oh, you don't have a problem. You know, you're just a person that likes to get messed up, you know. And I can remember in 2005 when I was in the treatment center, and H and I came from Narcotics Anonymous, and that was like my first memory of Narcotics Anonymous. And them people had something I wanted, and I couldn't really understand or know what it was. But as I look out, I think it was that serenity, man, you know, the serenity that they had. And more further, man, if, you know, if this message is blurred, addicts can die over that shit, man, you know. And with sharing comes responsibility, man. Am I dividing the group? Am I saying some shit that can send a newcomer out there? You know, if somebody is, you know, they're alcoholic and an addict, and then you know, the newcomer hears, oh, well, there's a difference, and all they did was drink, so then they think it's okay to go and use, man. You know, this shit ain't nothing to play with, man. The literature states very clearly that our lives are at stake. And I take heed to that, man. You know, I've been to the penitentiary. I've been to treatment centers. You know, I can't pick up the crystal ball and say what will happen, but shit, I've been to 2 out of the 3, and I have an idea where I'll go to. You know, nonetheless, 100% guaranteed, if I was to go and pick up, most definitely I'm going to die a spiritual death. And see, me and my God, man, we got tight through this process, man. My relationship with the God of my understanding is phenomenal, man. And, you know, in the morning, I like to get on my knees and pray, but that's not something I have to do to communicate with my higher power, man. I could be walking around and say, God, help me with this. God, get me out of myself. Even when I think about it, man, it's prayer. You know, I've seen addicts come and go, man. And there was one that I was really, really close to over the summer, man. It's like me and this guy was inseparable. And, you know, he's still alive, but he's not in the rooms, man. And you want to talk about the purest form of powerless right there, when somebody you love, you know, knows, you know, the bitter ends of the seriousness of this stuff, and they just don't want to surrender, man. But see, if this shit is based on attraction rather than promotion, then I got to make sure I'm living this program. You know, the newcomer is the most important person at any meeting. And you know, what is the newcomer going to remember more, man? Me up here sharing real good, or the way I'm living? You know, I could be in a meeting talking some real good shit, go out in the parking lot and start cussing somebody out. What's going to stick in his mind more, man? You know, I could not pay this program back. Yesterday, I had a buddy come down, and they asked him to, you know, if he wanted to do a workshop. And at the time, they only had one workshop filled. So I went down there and said, hey, man, if you need somebody to speak, I can do it. Because I can't pay this program back, man. There ain't no way in the world I can. But if NA calls, I'm stepping up to the plate, man. If another addict calls, I'm stepping up to the plate, man. Because that's what people did for me. Man, I am so grateful for Narcotics Anonymous, and a grateful addict will not use, man. And, you know, I struggle sometimes, man, and it hasn't been a bed of roses, but, man, there ain't nothing like the getting and using and finding ways and means to get more, man. Being in the horrors of addiction, man. The degradation, all that shit, man. There is nothing that this program has suggested for me to do that was harder than any of that stuff. Man, when I got to the penitentiary and I hit my bottom, man, I would have carried 500 pounds on my back for 500 miles to get clean, man. Y'all tell me come in here, surrender, get a sponsor, and work some steps, man. Work and live some steps. And, you know, I'm all into my recovery. I have a little over 2 years clean. I still make meetings every day. I call my sponsor every day. I read the literature every day, you know, because I only have a daily reprieve from it, man. I can never, ever get complacent. I can never start thinking I have this shit, man, you know, because that's when it's going to flare up the most. And I'm grateful for the predecessors of this program. And, you know, if I'm outside of a meeting and, man, I just don't throw my cigarette butts anywhere, man. I put them where they're supposed to be at. You know, the way I live, the way I carry myself, the way I act, all that stuff reflects Narcotics Anonymous, man. Especially if I'm in public with some NA apparel on, you know. The way I live speaks louder than anything, man. I can remember when I got a little bumper sticker at the convention, man, and it was a symbol, just a circle in the square, the esoteric connotations, you know. Y'all would know I'm an addict when nobody else would. And I remember it was brought to my attention very clearly that shit carries a lot of weight, man, when you're riding around with that stuff on your car. And, you know, in Tradition 1, it talks about how each member is equally responsible, you know, for NA's, you know, for the common welfare and stuff, man. And I can't put that on nobody, man. It's not for me to go around and enforce, man. The traditions are what is to keep my shit clean, to keep my side of the street clean. For me to act in accordance with this shit, not nobody else. You know, I heard some addicts talking earlier, and I'm a firm believer that if I'm all wrapped up in everybody else's business, I'm all worried about what they're doing and steadily pointing the finger because I'm afraid to look at myself, I'm already walking my ass out the door, man. This shit has a domino effect to it, man. I'm not just gonna leave a meeting and get high, man. Relapse is never an accident, man. That shit starts. It starts right here in the rooms, man. If I come in here and I got that intolerance or indifference towards spiritual principles, you know, I could come into a meeting and become closed-minded, and right then I'm complacent, man. I'm becoming complacent in the meeting, man. This disease is in the meetings, you know. That's why I stay in this book, so when I hear that blurred-ass message, I don't become a victim of that shit, man. You know, I've heard addicts in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous disrespect this literature, man. Never, ever in my life, man. You know, this shit, the literature has been ingrained in me, man. If I'm trying to work this program the way, you know, like working Steve Anonymous and not Narcotics Anonymous, I'm in trouble, man. I have to surrender to this program, man. You know, I can't surrender some of it, man. I got to surrender everything to it, man. Same thing just like in the third step, man. It doesn't say I have to turn over, you know, my job, maybe this part of my relationship, maybe my finances. I have to turn everything over, man. Everything. And, you know, man, the best thing I can do is just stay my ass out the way, man. You know, I keep it simple, man. I don't have all the answers. I don't represent Narcotics Anonymous, man. I know what I have to do not to pick up, and I know what I have to do to get better, man. If I don't want to pick up, I have to take my ass to meetings, become involved in this fellowship. If I want to get better, I have to work some steps. You know, as I said earlier, how my thinking has been affecting my whole life. You know, how my thinking has to change. We have no choice but to change our old way of thinking, to go back to using. The 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous are the only things on the face of this earth that is going to change my thinking, man. You know, in active addiction, I tried everything. See, my thing was, I had a problem, you know. I was suffering some consequences from my active addiction. But see, I had a problem in that unmanageability part. And it talks about that, man. The second admission must be made before our foundation is complete. When I got to the penitentiary, I had no problem admitting my life was unmanageable. It was so unmanageable that I had to go to a place where they could manage my life for me. So, you know, I have no doubts about that, man. And, you know, this program, man, I'm so grateful for this program. You know, where would I be without Narcotics Anonymous, man? You know, our predecessors, man. You know, they talk about that. Those that are addicted today are more fortunate, man. Thank God I ain't got to run around and do the rabbit meetings, and I just couldn't picture, man, trying to recover without this basic text, man. I just couldn't. Any of the Narcotics Anonymous literature. You know, in my area, the meetings are you know, an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on where I go. I can usually get a hold of a recovering addict 24/7, but there's times that I can't, and there's times that and those times are far and few in between. But you know something, this is always at my fingertips. You know, in my eyes, the literature is the program of Narcotics Anonymous. And this basic text has restored me to sanity many a times. And there's going to be many more times to come. And I'm so grateful to be down here at Camp Mac. I'm grateful for the program of Narcotics Anonymous. And I'm truly grateful that I have been given the gift of recovery, man. And I would do anything that I have to do, you know, to obtain this precious gift, man. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Ruben. Ruben would come.
My name's Ruben. I'm an addict.
Hey, Ruben.
I'm grateful to be here, man. I ain't been here since 2004, man. And I'm grateful to be here, man. And I'm grateful, man, that today, man, I ain't confused, man, about where I belong or what fellowship I go to, man. My clean date is August the 15th, 1998, man. When I went to a meeting and I was hurting, man, and I went to another fellowship, I said I was an addict. They said, you can't identify yourself like that. Get the fuck out of here. And I ain't been back since, you know, and I was hurting, man, you know, and I don't knock nobody that go other fellowships, man. If you do, that's fine. But I know where I go, man. You know, that's like having a mistress and a husband, man, for me, man. You know, I ain't confused about that shit, man. You know, I was in a meeting, man, with some motherfuckers with clean time, man. 20 years clean, man, talking about reading out of the big book, man. You know, killing a newcomer, man. You know, and hey, man, it took every power in me not to say nothing, man. I really wanted to go there, man. But I said, you know what? My sponsor said, anytime you right, you don't have to be right. You know, if you right, you don't have to be right, man. You know, and we was talking about that people. See, it's, you know, Narcotics Anonymous, you know, they like to gossip, they like to talk, but they don't like to tell the truth about themselves, man. You know, and I always say, if you want to know something about me, ask me, man. Because see, my life is an open book, man. When I used, it was an open book, man. You know, when I went to the county, it was an open book, man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew it. My mother said, well, he in the county again. How long he going to stay this time? You know, and when I come to Narcotics Anonymous, man, I come here, man, because I can use successfully, man. You know, I came here saying where I grew up at, how many people I ran with, and they say, man, you know what? We know your story when you walk through the door. You can use successfully, you know. And in our literature, man, it talks about as addicts, we know the pain of addiction, but we also know the joy of recovery we found in the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, man. You know, and I want to say, man, like yesterday we were sitting outside and my man up there came to us, man, and I said, damn, man, you know, it took a long time for somebody to come up to me that didn't know me to say, hey, how you doing? This is my name, you know, and still today they don't do it, man. You know, I'm the kind of person that you don't want to fuck with me, man, because I will tell you where I stand. You know, a lot of people don't fuck with me, man, you know, because I ain't going to hold nothing back, man. You know, why should I? Y'all told me to shut up and sit down, man. We want to hear from the disease. We ask you, you know. And today, man, my life is an open book, man. I serve one program, man, you know. And I'll tell you this, if somebody come to me new and say that they need to make a meeting and that's the only meeting they got to go to, hey, that's fine, man. Because you know what? That might be the meeting they need to go to, man, at that particular time, man. You know, I done been in places where people want me to speak, man, and I feel that ain't no spirituality in there. And I said, man, what kind of meeting is this? And they said, well, this is a war. I said, no, well, I can't do that, man. That's against everything that I do, man. I'm sorry, I can't, man. You know, and you know, man, for me, man, it talks about here, man, that in NA, we follow a program adapted from Alcoholics Anonymous. More than 1 million people have recovered in AA. Most of them just as hopelessly addicted to alcohol as we were to drugs. We are grateful to the AA Fellowship for showing us a new way of life. The 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous as adapted from AA are the basis of our recovery program. We have only broadened their perspective. We follow the same path with a single obsession. Our identification as addict is all inclusive with respect of any mood-changing, mind-altering substance. Alcoholism is a too limited term for us. Our problem is not a specific substance. It is a disease called addiction, man. You know, this is what our literature says, man. You know, I always was taught, man, speak from the literature, man. You know what I'm saying? I got a sponsor, man, who has an NA sponsor, 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 man. You know, and we get together, man. This ain't no, I don't sugarcoat it, man. You know, because I ain't trying to kill nobody, man. You know what I'm saying? I can kill somebody with what comes out of my mouth, man. You know, and there's some people at this particular convention that don't fuck with me. You know, yesterday I said hi to a dude, and I know I fucked this whole day up, man, just by saying hi. You know, hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? And it was one of them motherfuckers that, right, did what they did in that meeting, man. And, you know, and for me, man, I ain't going nowhere, man. You know, I fought to be here, man, just like all of us. Our pain got us here, you know. And for me, it wasn't the chords or it wasn't my father or mother, but my pain whooped my ass and it got me here. And when I came here, I came to my first NA meeting was, I'm from Gary, Indiana, man, right? And my first meeting was in Gary, man, at a treatment center. And my partner was in treatment, and he said, you want to make an NA meeting? I said, I don't know about that, man. I don't want nobody to see me in there, man. And he said, well, man, check this out. I said, what can I do to get you to a meeting? And I said, hey, cop me some dope, and I'll go. And he did, man. And I did it in the bathroom, and I heard about, seen people running around with key tags, man, longer than, you know. And I said, well, I don't know about this shit, man. I don't like this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? This ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? And it had not been for that guy, I wouldn't be here today, man, because he took me to my first meeting, man. Check out this. He ended up going back out dying, man. You know. When they called me, I had 2 years clean. I went to his house, man, and he was laid out in the grass with the tape already around there, man. You know, and I'm talking about being grateful, man. That's why I don't play with this program, man. That's why what comes out of my mouth comes out the literature, man. You know what I'm saying? And you might see me doing some shit out the ordinary, but hey, all you got to do is come to me and ask me, and I'll tell you. You know, that's like my mother said today. You know, it's something about you that you don't be quiet or nothing. You know, you always got to get the last word, man. You know what I'm saying? I always had to get the last word. That's why I ended up in 15 treatment centers and 10 county jails, man. I didn't go to the penitentiary. I let Steve and Jimmy do all that shit. You know what I'm saying? I didn't make it that far, man. You know? I'm talking about, man, I was in Sun Valley, man, at where the first NA meeting was ever held, man. The little house, right? And I know, man, that it was like a spirit over that little house, man. Not because it's a church or nothing, but because where the first NA meeting was held, man. You know, and I believe in the literature. I believe in the roots of this program. You know what I'm saying? I believe, man, that I need to tell you the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me the basic tech. You know, because if I don't, man, you're going to die. You know what I'm saying? I don't recruit people to go to meetings. I don't recruit people to go to other places, man. You know what I'm saying? I just know what works for Reuben, man. You know, and then we get in here with that treatment center talking shit, man, thinking that's going to save somebody. That's going to kill a motherfucker, man. You know what I'm saying? We tell people don't do this and they first shit. That ain't what it said. You know, you in here spreading shit don't even, you know, ain't even coming out the literature, man. And I sit up and I watch people do it, man, and I say, you know what? I'm grateful for who my sponsor is. I'm grateful for who Jimmy Kennan was, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful for that, man. Because, see, man, it talks about in here that we have paid the right to recover with our pain. You know, with our pain, man. Not the pain my mother had with me using, but my pain. You know what I'm saying? In and out of treatment centers, man. You know, in and out of places, man, that I wasn't supposed to be, man. You know, I remember, man, times where the police say, man, damn, ain't you tired, man? You know, I'm talking about the police, man. Say, ain't you tired, man? And I'm like, and I was just telling Jimmy that, man, today is what, Saturday morning, right? And man, let me tell you, man, I told Jimmy, damn, man, do you remember when it was like leaving the dope house, man, with no damn money, man, no worth of living, man, and our mothers and fathers and our kids didn't want shit to do with us, huh? I'm talking about my son graduating from high school, man, in a couple of days, man, and his mother said I'd never be shit. I remember her throwing out my clothes in the snow, man, in 1985 and said, you'll never be shit. And today I'm going to be sitting in the front row, man, on his graduation, man. I'm talking about, man, because I stay in this program, man. I don't play with this program, man. And I go to some meetings and I walk in and I see people whispering. You keep whispering, you know. But when you start telling about you, man, how many fellowships you go to, how many newcomers you sending out the room with the shit you put in their mouth, then I'll let you know about me. See? Because, see, I don't play, man. I was just telling my boy, man, and I call him Brown, man. That's his last name. And I said, some motherfuckers, man, just ain't happy with who they are, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, it ain't, all this jewelry and shit, this don't make me. You know, when I get up in the morning, I said, thank you, God, for another day clean and for the program of Narcotics Anonymous. That's who makes me. You know, all this shit is just some shit I got from going to work. You know, my father said, well, damn, you look like a goddamn clown with all that stuff on. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, man, everything ain't what it look like, it's what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, man, a person who got fired from many jobs is a person today who defends people who have addiction problems on the job, who gets fired and I got to get their job back. You know? And that's because I worked the program of Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I'm not perfect. You know? We want to be perfect in here, like our fucking lives is so good and nothing's wrong. Yeah, okay, I'm going to stay the fuck away from you then. Shit, because if that's the truth, I need to get some of what you got. You know what I'm saying? See, man, because, I go many places, man, like all of y'all. Y'all might see me, man, anywhere, man. You know what I'm saying? I was in Detroit, man, for the first time not too long ago, man, at a convention, man, and I enjoyed it, man. You know, I'm talking about, man, I enjoyed, man, just being who was in my presence, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's a One Disease Woke program. I went to a convention in Wisconsin, and that was their logo, man, on their shirt, man. One Disease, One Program. Now, do I beat the newcomer up? No, I don't beat them up. You know, sometimes I hear them, man, talking about how many diseases they got. I just close my eyes, man, because I remember my own pain and confusion in my first meeting. You know what I'm saying? But after a while, your ass going to start learning to live this program because we got some people in here that will whoop your ass with the basic tech. We got some people that will, hey, man, until you leave, the message is going to be clear. When you leave, it's going to be clear. Trust me, it is. You know, I'm waiting on a passport to go to Bogota, man, Colombia to speak, man. And they said, don't bring all that jewelry because they will stick your ass up out here. But they said, bring the message of recovery, you know. And I'm talking about, man, I know this disease, man. I hear people with that, this and that. This disease, a white, black, Puerto Rican, Mexican, it will whoop your ass, okay? I go to one meeting where this dude talk about people, right? And I said, but you forgot to tell him the part, man, about how the disease affects all colors, man. You didn't tell him that part. You went on some other shit, you know. I'm talking about, man, for real, man. You know, we come in here, man, we need to really carry the message of recovery, man, not the mess, man. You know what I'm saying? And anybody who fucks with me, either they go out or they stay clean, one of the two. I ain't going nowhere. I'm here to stay, man. This was the last house on the block for me, man. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't no, when I got here, that you guys patted me. No, they said, man, sit your ass down, man. Ain't you tired of going in and out of here, Ruben? Well, I don't know. I don't know what I am. I said one day I was dually addicted because I seen a dude that had dual pipes on his car. You know, I remember rebuilding a car, right, from the outside, right? And y'all told me I had to work on the inside. And the car was pretty and everything, but an addict put up and said, I thought you fixed the car. I did. And he said, but it's smoking. You know? What's up with the motor? See, I got to work on me, man. The motor on me, man. It's my interior, man. That's how I live spiritual principles in my life. And I live them, man. I live them, man. And I ain't perfect. I go off on the bound, man, and I go in meetings, and I bash the other fellowship and stuff, man. But my sponsor say, man, you know what, man? It's about time you just let people be who they are, man. Just let them be who they are. Because you ain't changing nobody. Because we couldn't change you when you first got here. I'm talking about, man, really, man. Really, man. Do you really want to change? Do you really want what Narcotics Anonymous has to offer? I did. I was willing to do any damn thing it was to stay clean in this program. I don't care what it was, man. You know what I'm saying? And I remember coming here with no shoestrings on my feet, right? And musty, weighing 160 pounds, man. No belt. And all I wanted to do was stop hurting, man. And when I looked up, it was a meeting in the funeral home, man, where I grew up at. And I went in there, man, and I said, I just want to stop hurting, man. You know what I'm saying? And they said, you're in the right place, man. You know what I'm saying? You're in the right place. And I went somewhere else, and they said, I said, this ain't where I want to be, man. I gotta keep walking through the journey of recovery to get what I want, man. I know some people that don't even know me, man, and talk about me, man. Don't even know me, man. See me one time and said some shit about me that they don't even know me, man. You know what I'm saying? I seen the person with 20 years clean used, man. Well, this is what works for me. Well, I guess it is. I don't bounce around, man, from this fellowship, that fellowship, this treatment. I don't do all that because I was taught, man, the right way, man. And when I go to California, man, East LA, where I got some friends, hey, they work Narcotics Anonymous program, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it's supposed to be. But see, I can't enforce my will on you, man. You got to get it how I got it. But I was willing to do whatever you guys told me to do, man. When I first came to this convention, I'm talking about when I first got here, first got here, and I didn't see nobody with no mink coats or alligator shorts. I said, this ain't the convention I'm supposed to be at. And my sponsor said, won't you sit down, man, and let the Spirit work. And, man, this is one of the best conventions I ever been to, man. Well, you guys don't give a fuck what I got on. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You don't care what I got on. Just bring yourself, Ruben. And check this out, man. At 206, right, I got hit by a fork truck at work. I got ran over, And when I got hit, I flew 30 feet in the air, man. And I come down and run over my legs and broke both of my legs, man. And the doctor said, listen, it's going to be a possibility we're going to have to amputate your leg, man. Seriously. Let's not get this twisted, okay? So when he said that, I said, I believe in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, man. I believe in that, man. Do you know, man, that the next day before they was getting their utensils ready and all that, he touched my leg and said, man, I don't know what the hell happened from last night to right now, but your leg don't have to be amputated. You hear? And y'all told me, I didn't want to go to conventions in a wheelchair, man. I didn't, man. And I said, I can't let them see me like this. And the dude said, come as you are. We got the rest, man. And look, I'm here now, man. Walk. Can't sit down, man. You know what I'm saying? Can't sit down, man. I live this shit. When I first got my NA tattoo, I was over every motherfucking way showing that tattoo. And the logos on my car, man, I was everywhere, man. All over the city. Look, I'm an NA. Look. And one dude said, you keep coming around here, you're going to be using. You know what I'm saying? I don't go around old people, places, and things, man. And people know that know me, they say, man, we cool, that you living a good life and a spiritual life, man. And if you ever need anything, man, we got you. I want to talk about my boy, right? My boy, right, got 8 years clean. And he goes to 2 fellowships. He's in the community, all that, right? So he decided to do some under-the-table shit, like we do in Narcotics Anonymous, and he got popped with a kilo of cocaine, right? And they wanted to give him life in the penitentiary, and I remember talking to him about damn, man, why do you need to go to all them programs you go to? Oh, man, this is how I do it, man, and don't worry about that. I'm probably going to get farther than you online. He's sitting right over there with no bond, and I'm sitting right here free as hell. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about, man, spiritual principles, man, embodied in the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, man. I live this program, man. You know, I might not live it because you don't think I live it or the best of your ability. Ain't no motherfucker perfect in here, man. I don't care how much money you got in here. I don't care how much jewelry you got in here. I don't care how much clout you got in the community. Your ass can get high. Do you hear me? You can end up in the county jail clean, you know. And then we sit here, man, and we enforce all this stupid ass shit on the newcomer, and I'm telling them, hey, man, shut the fuck up sometime. Listen, you know. Even me with almost 11 years clean, I got to listen sometimes, man. I know a dude, man, out there right now, don't want to listen. Don't want to listen, man. This right here fucked me up, man. You know what I'm saying? This right here fucks me up, man. When I don't want to do what you guys tell me to do, man, and then I get in conflict with people, man. Because they can't hang, man. I mean, they can't stand the outcome. If you're going to bring it. But be ready for the outcome. And one thing, I don't like to rebuttal on nobody's message, but sometimes we have to, man. We have to, man. You know what I'm saying? We have to let people know, man, because some people is confused as hell, man. Thank God I ain't confused, man. I live this motherfucking program. I got it in my house. I got everywhere, man. I stay right next door to a sergeant of the state trooper police, man, and he knows I'm in the program. And he don't fuck with me. He speaks to me only. Look at that. I'm the only one he speaks to. And check this out. See, it was some people in our building using, and he sent them to me. Without me even saying hi to him, without me even talking to him. He said, that dude down there in 2B? Go ask him. I think he got some affiliation with all that, Because I be on my balcony talking, man, and, they probably hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because I love this program, man. I will fight for this program. You know what I'm saying? I done went, man, toe-to-toe with some people about this program, man. And I ain't trying to, like, what do you call that, man? Like, they call them NA Nazis. I ain't trying to be that, man. In the beginning it was where we go to meetings and we team up and we just go in there, boom, and leave that meeting and it look like a bombshell drop. I don't have to do that today, man. I talk to you guys first, man, and see what my motives are, man, for going to meetings, man. Am I going to get my ego boosted up, man, telling people don't go to 2 fellowships and this and that because I want to look good? We look good, we sound good, we share good, but we don't talk about the part when we hurt real damn good, too. When our ass is balled up in a knot and don't want to tell nobody, man. I couldn't wait to get to this convention, man. I turned down some overtime to come here, and that ain't me. Because my life depends on Narcotics Anonymous, man. I work with a girl, and she uses him. We work together, and she be coming and smelling like liquor. And before I could open my mouth, she said, I don't want to hear about that program. Don't even bring me that shit. I ain't ready to stop. I said, but no, you didn't hear. I ain't ready to stop. But she sent me her old man, and he clean. He going on 4 years clean, man. She sent them to me, man, because he was using and wouldn't stop using. I'm talking about, man, it's about helping somebody in here, man. And I help people, man. You might not see it, but I do. I help people in this program, man. And it talks about, man, our message of recovery is based on our experience. Before coming to the fellowship, we exhausted ourselves by trying to use successfully and wondered what was wrong with us. After coming in AA, we found ourselves among a very special group of people who had suffered like us and found recovery, man. You know what I'm saying? Who had found recovery, man. I was standing on the corner, man, in Logan Square up in San Diego, California, man, looking for a meeting. And some dudes rolled past, looked like some gang members, man. Well, they were, but they're recovering, right? And they said, hey, you looking for a meeting? I said, yeah. And they said, get in, man. I'm talking about the attraction. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even say a word. I didn't promote this. I need to make a meeting. They said, hey, you need a meeting? We know where a meeting at. And I'm looking like, oh, man. They said, get in, man. You know, get in. They jumped out the car, put me in the car, and took me to a meeting, man. You know what I'm saying? Never seen them, never said hi to them, nothing. They pull up, took me to a meeting, man. That's the way it works. I make meetings all over the world, man. And anybody that knows me, man, hey, I make meetings. I chair meetings, man. I don't come in here with that bullshit. And then if you come in here saying this and that, I got to stop you. My sponsor said I have to stop you and tell you, hey, wait a minute. This is how it works here, man. We got people sitting down meetings, ain't addicts. Some people said it's okay. No, it ain't. I don't want nobody knowing what the hell I done did. You know, you might be going to school with my son or something, or your daughter, and they go back and say, your father did all of that. You know, he in there sharing about your mother. You know? I'm talking about, man, living the dream, man. And I'm talking about, man, because I go to one fellowship, right, and I have one disease, and I got one sponsor, right? I have a son, man, right, that was born right out of my high school year, man, right? And he's 21 years old, man, right? And I haven't seen him in 20 years, man. In 20 years, man. His mother, man, came and said, you got a son. And I was in the spot selling and using, and I hit the alley, man. And I told her I'd be back, and I didn't come back, man. 21 years later, man, you know, he still want to know who I am. She said, I don't ever want you to show your face here, man. You know, she moving to Florida. He said, I want to stay behind because I want to meet my father, man. You know, I'm talking about for real, man. Every time I see a baby, that's the last time I see my son crawling around the floor, man. You know, and I ain't a bad person, man. You know, I cried and shit. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers used to hear me crying meetings. They say, damn, I thought you was so tough and shit. You know, all that literature speaking and shit, you crying and shit. Hey, man, I cried, man. Because the joy of being clean, man. The joy of having a program, man. Something I seen in here, man. You know, it says, hold on. Oh, it says right here, we are fully self-supporting through voluntary contribution from our members, regardless of where the meeting takes place. We remain unaffiliated, man. Unaffiliated, man. We don't affiliate with other people, other programs, all that, man. We don't, man. You know, it's in the literature. And then when you say something about the literature, everybody wants to crack you for it, man. You know, I ain't going nowhere, man. I ain't going nowhere, man. I keep literature at work, in the locker, anywhere, man. You know, because my life depends on this, man. You know, my clean date is August 15, 98, man. 4:45 in the morning, man. You know, 4:45 in the morning, man. The sun was coming up, man. Everybody, I had lost all hopes, man. No money, and it was time to change, man. And I said, I got to walk. I got to go to some treatments, and I'm gonna die out here, man. You know, and I'll never forget that. You know, I got an 84-year-old mother, 84-year-old father who loved the fuck out of me. They wanted me to tell y'all thank you, man, for giving me my son, Pat. You know, not to say this, man. Let me just share this whole with you, man. I got a brother, right, who had 5 years clean in his program. And some of y'all know him, some of y'all didn't, man. You know, he wasn't like me. He didn't do all, you know, when I walk in a meeting, he'll leave. He said, I ain't getting in that. You know, I'm going to another meeting because, you know, but he decided to use, man, after 5 years of being clean, you know, started going to other fellowships, right? Ended up leaving the meeting one night with me. He went home. I went to where I was living at, and he told me, man, that he loved me, man. And for some reason, I said, man, something just ain't clicking, right? And he went home and shot some dope and died, man, you know. My father found him in the closet with a belt wrapped around his arm. And what I got out of that, I said, man, you know, I got to keep living, man. And then they called me to clean out all the shit in the room, man. And I had never seen so much syringes and dope in my life, man. You know. And it's a trip because I read some of his steps he was working on, man. And he said that all he ever wanted to do is be clean like me, man. I said, man, I know this motherfucking program works. I know, man, that it's about attraction, not promotion, man. I don't go out on the street corners with cards with my name on it and say, call me if you got a drug problem. I don't do all that shit, man. And I know, man, today, man, there's some people that they ain't in this meeting because they don't want to hear the truth. The truth is the truth, man. I don't live in a lie, man. I don't live in a lie where I got to make the whole group laugh because I don't want to show how I really feel inside. I don't, man. I don't have to make the whole group laugh and I don't want to tell you how I feel, man, because you know what, man? This is a feeling, an emotional disease, man. And I feel this shit sometimes. Sometimes I go crazy, man, in my own mind, man. You know what I'm saying? I go crazy, man. And sometimes I say, man, you got to stop this craziness, man. God, please help me, man. I'm talking about crazy, man, really crazy, man. I had to call people, man, all over the world to find out, man, what I got to do, man. And what I got to do, I can't stop making meetings. I can't stop sharing the way I'm sharing. And I can't stop going to Narcotics Anonymous program, man. Because this is the only program that worked for me. Whatever works for you, that's cool, man. But I know what works for Ruben, man. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't buckle down to this shit, man, and I don't got a sponsor that go, I know people got sponsors that go to other fellowships, man. What the fuck, what you gonna work out of that? You sending people back to the streets, man. That's what you doing. And then when you tell them about it, they want to get mad. Like I told you, I fucked that whole dude's day up over there yesterday by saying hi to him. When he looked at me, man, he didn't even want to look at me, man. Almost time? Well, I'm just saying, and I don't mean to do that to people. I don't mean to fuck with nobody's emotions and feelings because I share how I share, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But that's what works for me, man. That's what works for me, man. I visited the World Service Office, man, up in Van Nuys, man. And when I went in there, man, and seen all the hope, man, and all the shit they used to use, man, when we first got clean and shit failed, man, I respect this program, man. And I got a problem texting in the meetings, and I'm going to work on that, man. I got to stop leaving my phone in the car or something because I got to respect Narcotics Anonymous. The newcomer is the one that's looking at that, saying, damn, didn't he just share all that shit in the meeting? Look, he's over there texting somebody, man. What is he paying attention to? I'm serious, man. It's for real, man. I got to quit texting people in meetings, because that ain't right, man. That ain't right. Then they do it, and they keep doing it, and then they go out, and who did they see do it? Right. That ain't right, man. So, my grand sponsor do not take a phone in the meeting, man. And I got to start practicing that shit, man. Because if I don't, man, I could send somebody else out there. Here I am sharing, and then boom, boom. Yup. People see that, man. People see that shit, man. And I'm talking about me, man. I ain't talking about nobody else. I'm talking about Ruben M. I need to quit doing that shit. It ain't right, man. I had a good night last night. I slept good, man. You know what I'm saying? And this, I'm going to try to make this convention every year if I can, man. Because this convention puts something on me, man. You know what I'm saying? But you know what, man? If you ain't enjoying this program, you're doing something wrong, Jack. You're doing something wrong. This is dreams, hopes, all of that in this program. Whatever you want in this program, you can get, man. Whatever it is. You want some pain, you'll get it. You want a man, you'll get it. You want a woman, you'll get it. You get with somebody who sell dope in here, you'll get the time they gonna get. You know what I'm saying? If you want to stay clean in one program, you'll get it. If you want bullshit, you'll get it. You want to hang with somebody that's full of shit, you'll get that too. Most of the time I'm by myself, man, because that's how I ride. I don't need a group of people to come with me and all of that. I got a God in my life, man. I don't need a cloud of people and a group of people, man, coming behind me to co-sign my shit, man. I got a God in my life, man. That's who tells me when I'm doing right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I'm grateful to be here and I keep coming back, man.
Heck yeah. Okay, can we go ahead and close with the group circle and the serenity prayer?